My name is Emma, and I am 32 years old. I work in a small, quiet office where life seems calm and routine. Every day is predictable, and I usually go through it without much excitement. I enjoy my peaceful life, even if it is simple. But everything changed the day a new boss arrived. His name was Daniel, and he was 40 years old. From the moment he entered the office, there was a warmth in the air. He had a gentle smile that reached his eyes, and a soft, calming voice that made everyone feel comfortable. He was kind to everyone and seemed to notice even the smallest details about people. At first, he was just my boss. I greeted him politely, smiled briefly, and went back to my work. There was nothing unusual in those first few days, but gradually, I started noticing him in ways I had never noticed anyone before. I found myself looking forward to hearing his voice, enjoying the way he spoke. When he looked at me, a strange warmth spread through me, something I couldn't explain. One day, he asked me quietly, "Are you feeling okay today?" I responded, "Yes, thank you." But my heart was racing, faster than I expected. There was something about him that drew me in. He remembered little things I had mentioned. He laughed at my jokes, and sometimes he stood just a little closer when we talked. These small gestures made ordinary moments feel magical. I tried not to think too much about him, especially at night, but it was impossible. My thoughts kept drifting back to him. I didn't want to feel this way, and yet I couldn't stop myself. As days passed, my feelings for Daniel grew stronger, even though I tried to ignore them. I started looking forward to small interactions, the way he smiled when he saw me, the gentle tone of his voice, and the way he seemed to remember even the tiniest details I mentioned in passing. Every time he spoke to me, my heart raced, and I felt an inexplicable warmth spread through me. It was as if his presence alone could make a dull office day feel bright and alive. Sometimes, when he asked how I was, I would respond politely, but inside, my emotions were in turmoil. I found myself thinking about him late at night, replaying every small moment, every kind word, every smile. I knew I shouldn't feel this way, that it was just wrong to fall for my boss, but my heart refused to listen. Then, one day, I noticed something that shattered the fragile world I had built in my mind. I saw his wedding ring glinting on his finger. My chest tightened, and a heavy sadness settled over me. He was married. The realization hit me hard, and I felt a wave of despair. My mind screamed, "You must forget him, Emma. You cannot love him." But it was too late. My heart had already surrendered. The conflict within me was unbearable. I didn't plan for this. I didn't want it, and yet, every day I thought about him. I smiled at him. I talked to him. I laughed with him, but deep inside, I carried a pain that no one knew about. He was unattainable, and yet, I couldn't stop loving him. At work, I saw him every day. He would walk past my desk, greet me with a warm, "Good morning, Emma," and I would respond with a smile, trying to appear composed. But my heart was loud and restless. It screamed truths I could never share. "You love him. He doesn't know. No one knows. And yet you cannot stop." Even in meetings, I found it impossible to concentrate. While he focused on the screen, my eyes would unconsciously wander to his face. I tried to avoid staring, but it was nearly impossible. His words were soft, his tone kind, and hearing him talk made my heart ache with a mixture of happiness and longing. One day, as he helped me with my computer, his hand accidentally brushed against mine. My heart leaped, my cheeks burned, and for a moment, I felt like the world had disappeared around us. He asked, "Are you okay?" I forced a smile and said, "Yes." Even though I wasn't, inside I wanted to cry. I knew it was wrong. He had a wife, a family, a life that did not include me. And yet, love, as it sometimes does, ignored all rules. This love of mine was quiet, secretive, and painful. When I returned home, I would sit alone in my room, asking myself why I felt this way. I had no answers, only a relentless truth. My heart had chosen, and there was no turning back. One Saturday, feeling restless and wanting to clear my mind, I decided to go to the park. I needed fresh air, a break from the constant thoughts that consumed me. I found a quiet bench under a large tree and sat down, watching people pass by. Children were running and laughing. Dogs chased each other across the grass, and the sunlight fell gentle and warm on my face. For a brief moment, I felt at peace and closed my eyes, letting the soft breeze calm my restless heart. But then, I heard a familiar voice, a voice I knew instantly. Daniel. I opened my eyes, and there he was, just a few steps away. My heart skipped a beat. I felt a mix of excitement and fear, unsure whether to look or turn away. But I couldn't have imagined what I would see next. He wasn't alone. A woman stood beside him, smiling warmly. A little boy ran to them, followed shortly by a little girl, laughing joyfully. The sight made my chest ache. Daniel lifted the little girl, pressed a gentle kiss to her head, and she giggled. The woman, I realized, was his wife, and the children his children. I froze. My heart felt unbearably heavy. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The happiness on their faces was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the longing and heartbreak in my own chest. Daniel looked different in that moment, not as my boss, but as a husband, a father, someone whose life was full and complete. He didn't even notice me. I was almost grateful for that, for the ability to remain unseen. I turned my face toward the trees, hiding my tears. I wanted to cry, to scream, to run away, but I held it all inside. The reality hit me like a wave. He belonged to them, not to me. They were his world, his family, and I had no place in it. I stayed there long after they walked away, feeling emptiness settle over me. As I walked home slowly, every step felt heavy. That night, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, whispering to myself over and over, "Forget him, Emma, please, forget him." But my heart refused to listen. It kept replaying the images of him with his family, the warmth in his smile, the laughter of his children. It was a pain I couldn't escape. The following Monday, going back to the office felt almost unbearable. My heart was still weighed down by what I had seen, yet life demanded that I continue. I tried to stay quiet, avoided unnecessary conversation, and focused on my tasks. But then Daniel came by my desk. His gaze met mine, and he said softly, "Emma, are you okay today? You seem a little sad." I looked down, my voice barely audible. "I'm just tired." He sat beside me, that familiar warmth radiating from his presence. "You're a good person, Emma," he said. "You always help others, quietly and strongly. You're special." Special, the word echoed in my mind. No one had ever called me that before. My lips curved into a smile, but inside, my body was trembling. I wanted to tell him everything, to confess how I felt, but I didn't. I couldn't. That word, though, stayed with me long after he returned to his office. I sat at my desk, staring blankly at the screen, feeling my heart to fall to work. That night, in front of the mirror, I whispered to myself, "He thinks I'm special." And then I cried. I cried for happiness, for sadness, for longing, and for a love I knew could never be mine. One evening, after everyone had left the office, Daniel and I found ourselves alone. The quiet of the empty office felt almost heavy, like the world outside had disappeared, leaving just the two of us. I wanted to speak, to say all the things my heart had been screaming for months, but fear held my words captive. He looked at me and smiled, a soft, gentle smile that made my chest tighten. "Emma," he said quietly, "you are important to me." My heart leaped. I looked at him, a mixture of fear and happiness swirling inside me. I wanted to ask the question that had haunted me for weeks, "Do you love me?" But my mouth refused to form the words. He continued, his voice low, sincere, and full of emotion. "I am married, Emma, but I cannot ignore my feelings for you. You make me feel alive, like I haven't felt in years." Tears welled up in my eyes. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to believe that he would leave his family for me, that our love could be real. But another, stronger part of me knew it was impossible, and that even thinking about it made me ache. I like you too, Daniel," I said softly, my voice trembling. "But you have a family." I don't want to be the cause of anyone's pain. He nodded, understanding shining in his eyes. I know, I don't want to hurt them, but I also cannot stop thinking about you. For a moment, silence fell between us, heavy and almost suffocating. The air felt colder, and the quiet made the room feel intimate, vulnerable. That moment, the truth between us was both beautiful and painful. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing clearly. My love for him was real, undeniable, and consuming. After that night, everything changed. We continued working together, but the conversation about feelings ceased. There was a quiet distance between us, a tension neither of us could fully ignore but neither dared to cross. I spent countless hours reflecting on love, desire, and morality. Loving a married man was not only complicated, it was painful, filled with secrets, heartache, and endless what-ifs. One evening, sitting alone at home, I made a decision. I whispered to myself, Emma, you must be strong. You must love yourself first. I knew I could not hope for Daniel to leave his family, nor could I let my life revolve around him. I decided to find happiness within myself, to learn to live fully without relying on a love that could never be mine. It was not an easy choice. There were moments when I still thought of him, moments when my heart ached unbearably, but slowly, I began to understand that love was not only about holding someone, it was also about letting go. In the weeks that followed, life slowly began to change for me. I continued working at the office, seeing Daniel every day, but the intensity of my emotions gradually softened. I smiled more freely, not just for him, but for myself. I started to realize that my happiness could not depend entirely on someone who belonged to another life, another family. I began to focus on myself, my dreams, my passions, and the small joys I had overlooked before. I spent more time with friends, pursued hobbies I loved, and learned to appreciate the quiet strength within me. Each day, I felt a little lighter, a little freer. The ache in my heart didn't disappear completely, but it became a gentle reminder of what I had experienced, rather than a source of constant pain. Daniel remained in my life, still kind, still friendly, but we maintained a respectful distance. Our moments together were professional, yet always tinged with a quiet understanding of the bond we had shared. There were no confessions, no stolen glances, just a mutual acknowledgement that our feelings existed but could not dictate our actions. I discovered something important through this journey. Love is not always about possession. Sometimes love is about letting go. Sometimes the truest form of love is recognizing that happiness for the one you care about may not include you. It is painful, yes, but it is also profound, teaching patience, empathy, and self-respect. Slowly, I began to smile genuinely again. I allowed myself to dream, to hope, to imagine a future where my joy was not tied to someone else. I learned to love myself first, to nurture my own heart, and to embrace the possibilities that life still had to offer. Daniel will always hold a place in my heart, a chapter of love, longing, and bittersweet memories, but I am no longer trapped by it. I am free, and I am ready for a new beginning. I now know that my happiness is my responsibility, and no secret longing, no unattainable love can take that away. Life moves forward. I have moved forward too, and in that movement, I have found peace, strength, and the courage to open my heart again, not to someone else, perhaps, but to myself first.